Okay, welcome back everyone. So I'm here in the woods in Flagstaff. There is a massive storm cloud that is brewing overhead, so I'm gonna hopefully make this pretty quick. But if you saw the title of this video, you know this is a pretty exciting video. Now, I've got a whole lot I wanna say about what just happened in Colorado with my second big race. You can tell my voice is a little off because I was afflicted with something called exercise-induced asthma. So I had a really hard time breathing during the race. I still finished, but I had all sorts of trouble getting enough oxygen into my lungs. And at the finish line, my blood oxygen was 84. 84! That's like drowning on dry land. Very bad. But to the matter at hand. I have been on a very long and circuitous journey over the last 16 to 18 months, I would say. I have sort of been trying to figure out where I want to fit myself in the motorcycling world. Obviously, I've got the Royal Enfield Himalayan, which is my adventure bike, and I've got the little Trail 125, which is sort of a dual-purpose commuter/trail bike, and I love both. I love them both. If you watched my review videos, you know that each has its pros and cons. One of the biggest complaints I had about the Himalayan is that it's just heavy. And so sometimes when I go on these big moto camping trips, I get nervous on really rough trails because I know if I drop the bike, I may not be able to lift it. So I've been really trying to figure out what it is that I want. Now, there's a very important disclaimer that I want to get out in the open first, and that disclaimer is that I have a 2 bikes in the garage strict policy. I call it my Sith rule of 2. So the reason that I have this policy is 1, because it keeps myself in check. 2, because I quite simply don't have the room in my garage for a quote stable that many of you out there have the luxury of having. At any given time, if I decide I want to get a new bike, I have to sell one. And so we get to the point of this video. I am selling one of my bikes because I'm buying a new one. About 18 months ago, so almost 2 years ago, I went into a dealership and I put a deposit down on a CRF 300L Rally because I thought that was the bike that I wanted. I'm looking up because there's thunder and lightning starting to move its way in. So that was the bike I thought I wanted. I thought it would fill every single checkbox of the Himalayan, but with a lighter weight. And so I waited, and I waited, and I waited. And the dealership called me maybe 4 or 5 months in and said, hey, we don't have a 300, but someone just traded in a 250 Rally, an older one. So I said, great, I'll come down. I want to sit on it. I want to see what it's like. And I sat on it. And the first thing I noticed was, 1, it's way too tall for me. I have a 32-inch inseam. It's got a 35-inch seat height, even with the squat of the soft suspension. I just didn't like being on the balls of my feet. I want to be more planted. And so I started second-guessing my decision to get this bike. And I kept the deposit on the bike, but I just kind of was like really uncertain of what I wanted to do. Now, while that was happening, I bought the Trail. And I started really getting into riding more off-road and single track, and having that super lightweight bike just really made it fun to play in the woods because if I leaned over, I didn't feel like I was going to drop the bike. And so then I started thinking, what if I got something more true dual sport that's light, that I could flick around, but that could still get me to the trailheads and I could still take on the highway for short stints. Now, also, while this is happening, I had been taking multiple trips on the Himalayan up to Colorado, and as much as I love the Himalayan, I was disappointed in how it does on the highway. So I started honing in on this ultimate solution, I think, for myself of 2 bikes. 1, a small dual sport that I can use for commuting and playing in the woods, about 300 pounds, and then a nice adventure bike that's just gonna be heavier if I wanted to do well on the highway. Now at the time, I didn't know what that was gonna be. I didn't know if that was gonna still just be the Himalayan, if there was gonna be a new Himalayan 450 that comes out, if it was gonna be an Aprilia Touareg, or if it was going to be a KTM 390, or if it was going to be a CB 500X, something twin cylinder versus single cylinder. I didn't know at the time. I just kind of was honing in on this solution of bigger adventure bike, or sort of mid-size adventure bike with decent highway power, and something a little bit lighter on the dual sport side that I could play in the woods on that was more capable than the Trail 125. So we get to today. Right next to me here, I've got the new bike. The way that this transpired was I went on vacation this last week, and I got a call from the dealer, and they said, guess what? Your Rally finally came in. And I said, okay. I don't think I really want it anymore. And so he said, well, come on down, because we got a couple other new bikes in just on the showroom now that are unclaimed as of yet that you might be interested in. So I went down to the dealership. I looked at the Rally. It was beautiful. It's a beautiful bike. I'll show you a picture here. First of all, it was the non-ABS version, which I was a little disappointed in. I really want the ABS. But also, again, it was just too tall. I got on it and I was on the balls of my feet with my 32-inch legs, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't like how plasticky it was. It just had so much plastic on it. And I said, if this is gonna be the bike that replaces my Himalayan, I don't think it's the one. I just don't think it's the one. And he said, what about this one over here? You might have an interest in this one. And I went over and I looked and I went, ooh, now that might be an excellent replacement for the Trail 125. So without blabbing anymore, let me just go ahead and show you what I got. Here's what we got. Dun, 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 dun. We got a CRF 300L S. So what does that mean? This is a standard CRF 300L, but it's the S model, which means it's slightly shorter. So it's 1.5 inches or so shorter, which means I can flat foot on this bike. It's got a way cooler color scheme. It's got topo lines on it, which of course, me being a map geek, I love it. And it's a CRF 300, so it's still the same bike, but it's the standard. It's not the Rally. And this is the bike that I'm going to use to replace my Trail. Now, I'm absolutely heartbroken about selling the Trail, but I only have 2 bikes in the garage, and I'm really excited about this. So let me get on it and show you just kind of what the dimensions look like, because this is a brand new bike, brand new. They're just getting to showroom floors now. So this is one of the first ones in the entire country. So let me show you. Ooh, that thunder. All right, so you can see I'm completely flat foot on this. A little bit of a stretch to get flat, but I'm basically flat. So with the amount of squat on this bike, if you've got a 31 or 32-inch inseam, you'll have no problem. And if you've got a 30-inch inseam or a 29, you'll still be fine on it. You'll just be on your balls of your feet. But I wanted a bike that I could have full control over and feel like I could lean it and play on the trails, and something that was just more beefy than the Honda Trail 125. And I gotta tell you, this bike has crazy acceleration and is honestly higher performing than the Himalayan. I cannot believe the first time I opened the throttle on this thing, I was like, oh baby. So amazing little bike, which I think also speaks for the Rally, is probably exactly the same because it's the same exact engine. So I love it. Now, I don't have any accessories on it yet. I need to get a skid plate. I need to get hand guards. I need to get a power adapter. The only thing I put on it was my phone mount from my Trail. But you know, it is a true dual sport. So this is new for me. This is a new realm of adventuring. It's weird, there's no center stand. I'm getting used to that. I'm gonna have to get a motorcycle stand, but yeah, I'm just gonna come around here so we can admire it together. So it's exciting to get a new bike. It really is. I'm very excited. I've already got a whole bunch of cool things planned bouncing around in my head. Obviously it's in the break-in period. It's only got 4 miles on it. And I'm hoping to have some fun on it. Now, because it's the regular model, obviously it has a smaller gas tank. This is not gonna be my adventure bike, at least not yet. I could certainly set it up that way. I could set it up with bags and this could become my adventure bike. There's no reason it couldn't. Put a slightly larger gas tank on it or just carry some roto packs. This is absolutely could be my adventure bike. This could replace the Himalayan. But right now, it's replacing the trail. Now, I know a lot of you are probably super bummed to hear that the trail is leaving the channel. I am very, very bummed about it. I'm gonna miss it terribly. It was a beautiful little bike. And you know, I'm sure there's gonna be days I regret selling it, but so it goes. You get a new bike, I gotta make room for the new one. So it's just a new chapter and we'll see how it goes. Man, it's a beautiful bike. And I love that it's not the red. I love the Honda red, don't get me wrong, Team Red, great, all that good stuff. But I love the color scheme of this bike, that it's like the gray and black and it's got the topo lines. Again, big map geek, so I love the topo lines. And I just love it. I love the styling, the look, and I love that it's finally a dual sport that I fit on. And I know many of you watching have this same problem, have this same dilemma. Us shorter guys, man, we don't fit on these bikes. You know, I'm 5'9". I am not a tall guy. I just happen to have slightly longer legs for my height. But even still, this bike, the standard model is way too tall for me. So I love that Honda finally listened and they came out with an S, with a short model of the CRF 300L. So with that, I'm gonna go ride if you wanna come with me. Let's go take a ride. Man, the acceleration on this is bonkers. Whew. Lordy, she moves. She moves well. I love it. This is also the first bike I've ever owned that's liquid cooled. So that's going to take some getting used to as well. Oh, it's so light. It's just wild. I mean, this bike is about 306 pounds or something. So it's only about 40 pounds heavier than the trail. And it just feels amazing. Feels absolutely amazing. Like I could just, flick it around. Oh man, and it goes. It goes like a beast. Yes, it does. We're gonna miss you, girl. We are gonna miss you. That is for dang sure. All right, guys. Well, with that, I'm gonna sign off. I hope we have many new exciting adventures together on the new CRF 300 LS. So take care, everyone. See you in the next video. Bye.